Hello and good afternoon. This is Swamini Shraddhananda, formerly known as Sudha, here with Spiritual Journey on Wednesday, November 13th, a little bit after 2 o'clock, getting a little bit of a late start today in Reading, Pennsylvania, WXAC 91.3 FM. So I have so much to share with you. One of the first things that I want to share with you today is about this new name. So previously, this program was called Spiritual Journey with Sudha. Sudha was my spiritual name. It was a name that was given to me by my guru, by my spiritual teacher, well over 10 years ago. And it's not uncommon in the yoga lineages, in the Hindu lineages, and in some Buddhist lineages, that as an individual progresses on the path of spirituality, that they are given a different series of names depending upon the positions that they enter into. And so I just got back from a 10-day journey to India. And while I was there, I took my vows of renunciation within the Hindu tradition. And as a result of that, I was given the title Swamini, and my name was changed to Shraddhananda. So the word Shraddha is such a beautiful, beautiful word. It is potentially my favorite Sanskrit word, if I am able to have a favorite. It translates in English loosely as faith or devotion. And it really is the crux of any spiritual practice, that faith is necessary, devotion is necessary. The quality that you bring forward in every action, every intention, every thought really does matter. It's what either brings you closer to yourself or further away. So Shraddha is a very powerful word that is directly connected to the essence of yourself and how you present that self to your life and your life experience. The second part of the name is Ananda. Ananda means bliss. And so when you look at this name, unified, Shraddhananda, it means faith and bliss, devotion and bliss, or the bliss of faith and devotion. Now, the third part of the name is Saraswati. So the full name is Swamini Shraddhananda Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of education, creativity, and it's kind of like a surname. So according to the different orders that an individual can belong to, they each have a different surname. And in this instance, it is the goddess of creativity, education, language, and sound also. So just such a beautiful honor, and I'm thrilled to be back. I'm thrilled to be having this experience in life right now, and I'm thrilled to be able to deepen my connection even more, and deepen my responsibility to my community, as well as to myself and to my relationship with the divine. So I'm not going to linger too much on there. I just wanted to introduce the idea that I have a little bit of a different name now. Also a little bit of a different look. You see, I don't wear white anymore. White was associated with my previous position. Now I wear saffron. And saffron is a very beautiful orange color, and it is the only color that I will wear moving forward. And it represents a few things. First, it represents the sun. And the second is that it represents the internal fire, what in yoga and Ayurveda we call Agni. So the sun and this internal fire are symbolic of the discipline, the internal heat, the mental discernment, the application necessary in order to pursue spiritual path. And so wearing this beautiful color is thought to energetically ignite the ability to be disciplined as needed on this path, and to remain focused and true to intention. So from now on, Swami Shraddhananda Saraswati, or you can just call me SwaminiJi for short. And you'll see me around campus. I'll be wearing orange or saffron colors rather than the white. And please don't hesitate to come up and talk with me, come up and ask me questions. You know, I think sometimes it's interesting. People see something that they don't understand, and rather than asking questions and acquiring understanding, they just kind of walk the other way and shake their head. But the reality is everybody's familiar with what a monk is. Everyone is familiar with, to some degree, with people who have taken spiritual and religious vows in order to deepen their relationship and their commitment to service in the name of the divine. And that's pretty much all this is that I've taken these vows in order to do just that. So in line with this, today I thought we would talk a bit about the qualities that are present in a spiritual practice. And, there are many, and we've talked about some of them already, but every time we talk about them, we potentially talk about them from a different angle, a different perception, a different moment in time, a different circumstance. And you'll have to excuse me, I have a little bit of a cough going on. But these qualities that come forward in our spiritual path, it's very important that we consistently look at them so that we can recognize them and empower them to become even more grounded, even more foundational in our life expression. And so that we also don't mistake them for something that they're not. So, for example, the first and predominantly most powerful of these qualities is unity. The Sanskrit word for to unite is yoga, actually. So to embrace this quality of unity. And when we say unity, what we're talking about first and foremost is connection to the divine. So we're talking about, what do you feel connected with in this universe? Do you feel connected with some aspect of God or goddess, with universal consciousness, with source, the one, whatever name it is that you decide you want to call that? How connected to that are you? Are you connected on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour, moment-to-moment basis, or maybe just every once in a while? The quality of that connection is going to tell you the quality of the unity that you experience within your spiritual practice. If you wish to experience a stronger spirituality, then you need to cultivate a stronger sense of unity. And sometimes it's challenging when the thing that we're trying to unify with, when the essence that we're trying to unify with is something that can't be seen. Not really. We don't know what that looks like. There isn't necessarily a form per se. So it's, pretty much left up to our imagination on some level. So then where can we go in order to experience unity? We can look at each other. We can say, everything that is on this planet, everything that is alive, everything that is dormant, everything that ever was, ever will be, or is from that source. So if I practice unity through love and compassion, then I am effectively strengthening my unity to Creator. I'm effectively strengthening my unity to the source. So then we look at each other and we say, well, how do we unify our communities? How do we unify our neighborhoods? How do we unify our college campuses, for example? And we look at that unifying as a path to the greater unity of self with God or self with goddess. So unity does not exclude anyone. If it does, it's not unity. Unity means that we all come together. We all come together, no matter what walk of life we're from, no matter what background we have, no matter what. We come together, and we come together in the light of love, the light of goodness, the light of support, the light of potential. And that's where we focus. And we don't kick anyone out. We don't kick anyone to the curb. We don't say, this one's not deserving, but this one is. There's not a criteria like that. There's healthy boundaries, for sure. But everyone is welcome. Everyone has to be welcome. If everyone is not welcome, then it's not unity. So if we're only ever thinking about ourselves, and if we're only ever thinking about the things that we perceive that we need or that our small community needs, in light of the needs of others, or in light of the needs of our neighbor, in light of the needs of the stranger who lives around the corner, then we're always going to be lacking some sense of that unity. There's always going to be a piece of us that's going to feel that it has been left out. So it's important that we look and recognize that, all of our actions, all of our behaviors, all of our intentions, they affect all of us. across the board, no matter how small those actions are. Just even a smile or a frown can totally impact someone's day. You know, you walk into a store and you're aggravated at your kids and you see some stranger online in front of you who looks different than you do, and you maybe take it out on them. And now you're emphasizing separation and ignorance rather than acknowledging self-responsibility and maybe looking through eyes of gratitude and appreciation at this human being in front of you who is living and breathing and experiencing life in some way, shape, or form similarly to what you are. It's so much easier for us to connect in the areas that we have in common versus allow ourselves to be separated based on perceived differences. We all suffer. We've talked about that before. And we all long to heal. We've talked about that before. Well, the other thing that we all really long for, whether we know it or not, is a sense of unity. Unity of ourself with the divine, unity of ourself with each other, unity of ourself with this planet that we live on. This planet that we live on, she provides everything for us. I read a post on Facebook recently. It said, the planet Earth is not our mother, it's a planet. And I couldn't help but be a little irritated at that. Because the planet Earth is our mother. She grows our food. She supports us. She houses us. She tolerates us. In many traditions, she is the essence of the Mother Spirit. She is the space in which we exist, and therefore we owe her respect. We owe her respect. We owe her care. We owe her the opportunity to not be abused by us, to not be exploited by us. And so if we want to come into a deeper sense of unity, then it also means that we have to start taking care of this beautiful planet that we live on and everything else that inhabits this planet. We need to make sure that we're taking care of the water, that we're taking care of the trees, that we're taking care of the flowers and the animals, that we're taking care of the sky, that we're taking care of all of it, so that every living being on this planet has the ability to have clean water, clean air, the opportunity to experience some kind of happiness, joy, or satisfaction, and that we are not contributing to their suffering. And that this planet, this miraculous planet, which just supports us no matter how idiotic we become, no matter how harmful we become, that this beautiful planet can go on. It can go on in her greenness and her blueness and not in desolation. So unity, all these different ways to unify ourselves, unifying ourselves with God, Goddess, with each other, with all the beings on this earth, and with this earth itself. The next is awareness or consciousness, and the Sanskrit word for this is chit. Chit. So the chit is the consciousness. It is the ability to be aware. And this quality is so very important. Even understanding the depth and breadth of unity requires awareness. Because we might say, look, I've got my friends here on my one side and I've got my family on my other side and I feel united. But the moment we walk into an area where we don't know anybody, we cower in fear because we're not aware of the greater meaning of unity. Instead, we're settling for a limited definition that includes only a few and keeps everyone else separate. So on one level, awareness is about understanding where we're limiting ourselves and where we're not limiting ourselves, where we are allowing ourselves to expand and where we're allowing ourselves to see things accurately. Awareness is also something so beautiful. It's about being present to change, So in my 10 days in India, I had the opportunity to be present to a lot of change. And I'll acknowledge that I'm still processing, and I'll be processing for a long time. But here's the thing. My husband died of cancer last year. It'll be 1 year on November 23rd. And he dedicated his body to science so that they could research the tumors. And the remains were cremated, and I had the remains for the past year. When my guru came here from India, he said, he wanted to go visit Ed's grave. And I said, well, he doesn't have a grave yet. I'm still deciding what to do, because he really didn't have a preference. My husband, in his very dry English humor, said, I'm not going to be there. Just throw the remains in the garbage, in the dumpster. And of course, I looked at him a little appalled and said, well, that will never happen. I'll figure it out. But he didn't have a preference. He really felt he was not going to be present, so it didn't really matter what happened to the ashes. But my guru said to me, well, if you have the ashes, why don't I take them to Rishikesh and we'll dedicate them to the Ganges River? I was so very touched by that offer. The first words that came out of my mouth were, am I able to come with you? And he said, of course, if you can take the time away, you can come. So I arranged what I needed to arrange, and I went up to India for 10 days for the sole purpose of placing my husband's ashes in the Ganges River. Now, for those of you who don't know about the Ganges River is one of 3 sacred rivers in India. She runs a track across the upper territory, a bit northwest to northeast, and she's considered to be a form of the mother. And without sounding too esoteric or too out there, the thing that I can share with you about this river is that I've been in a lot of rivers. And when you go into the river, the water brushes across your skin and it feels so nice. Usually rivers are very cool and it's a very refreshing experience. But when you go into the Ganges River, the water doesn't just brush across your skin, it actually moves through you. There's an energy there that actually permeates to the very depth of your being, that touches you on a cellular, molecular, energetic level. And that energy is full of nothing but love. That might sound out there for some of you, who are not familiar with this, idea of spirit, of communing with nature, of seeing the mother and the father in this way. But for those of you who can identify with what I'm saying, just imagine, it's like, have you ever had coconut water? The thing I love about coconut water is that it's so different from regular water. When you drink it, you're drinking it. You can feel it feeding your cells on the inside, Well, when you go into the Ganges River, you feel your soul being nourished. You feel every part of you being nourished. It's just the most beautiful, amazing experience. So we're there and we're committing to this ritual to set my husband's ashes to the river, sending him home to the mother. And I was talking with my guru and I just, said to him, I'm still very drawn to taking my vows of renunciation. And he asked me in short, do you want to take them while you're here? So now here's this unexpected moment that I really was not expecting him to say that. This unexpected blessing, this moment of, wow, I'm releasing one thing, my husband, his remains, and I am acquiring something else. Let me be really present to this. Let me really take a moment and see what I'm feeling like, because that's a super emotional moment. That I'm there to release my husband back to the ethers, to the cosmos, to the divine. And in the same moment, preparing myself to take these vows that bring me closer to that same divine. The awareness in that moment that I took to breathe in and breathe out, I found myself immediately saying yes, even though my eyes were closed and I was paying attention to my heartbeat and I was paying attention to the whirl of energy that was rushing through my head and through every other part of me as well. And I remember feeling comfort. I remember feeling very, very comforted that this was the next obvious step. And of course, it was going to happen during this trip. There's no other time that it could or should happen. And so from that moment forward, and of course before that moment as well, but most certainly from that moment forward, there was a different level of awareness. There was a different level of paying attention on purpose, of wanting to soak in every sacred moment, knowing that this is evolution in process. This is involution in process. This is upliftedness, uplifting itself. And that I had the honor of having a front row seat for this change, for this journey, for this very beautiful blessing. So this awareness, this consciousness, and then working through the process of my husband's dedication and then my own dedication, and just really remaining present and grounded, even though in moments it was so energetically powerful. Just like in life, every one of us have these moments that are so energetically powerful. They could be caught up in anger. They could be caught up in passion, could be caught up in grief, could be caught up in excitement, whatever it happens to be. We have these moments and we tend to let those emotions take us for a roller coaster ride. But in your spiritual practice, the idea is to stay grounded in spite of those experiences, in spite of the heightened emotions, is to stay grounded and to have faith and to pay attention on purpose to what you're feeling, and then to channel that energy so that it moves through you in a way that benefits you and doesn't harm you, moves through you in a way that benefits those around you and doesn't harm them, moves through you in a way that draws you closer to your source and not further away from it. So this awareness, this consciousness is interacting with this flow of energy on purpose, eyes wide open, heart wide open, with full acceptance and understanding, with a deep, deep sense of surrender, a great honoring, reverence. There's so many words that we could put right there to that. But this awareness, this consciousness is necessary on your spiritual path. It is a quality that must be cultivated, because otherwise, how else will you know? How else will you know that you're actually doing the work you need to be doing? How else will you know that you're growing? How else will you know that you're changing unless you're being a witness to that change, unless you're embracing everything that's happening through the eyes of an interested individual, a person who is curious about the inherent goodness within and about the sacredness that exists everywhere. So this awareness and this unity, this consciousness and this unity, they come about more powerfully when we have a heart of compassion. And the word for compassion in Sanskrit is daya. Daya means compassion. And we've talked a lot about compassion in previous shows, but we can always come back to it because the way that we chose to embrace compassion yesterday can be a little bit different than the way we choose to embrace it today. And we can always use 10,000 reminders about the importance of compassion. So when we're looking and when we're witnessing, when we're watching ourselves walk through this path, when we're seeing the journey with eyes open, heart open, on purpose, it's important for us to recognize that there's actually no part of our life that is not the journey. Every single part of our life is the journey. And so if we fall down or we stand up, it's part of the journey. And having compassion for ourselves helps us to recognize that more fully and more emphatically. It helps us to forgive ourselves for the mistakes that we perceive we've made. It helps us to forgive others for the mistakes we perceive that they have made. When we are walking with compassion, married together with awareness and unity, we recognize that everyone around us is suffering the same as we are, different circumstances, same suffering. And they also are longing for the same healing. So we can have compassion for them. We can hold them in a place, in a space that allows them to do the work they need to do without bombarding them with our own personal issues and putting our burdens onto their shoulders. So unity, awareness, and compassion, yoga, chit, and daya. It's 2:31 this afternoon, WXAC 91.3, Reading, Pennsylvania. And you're listening to Spiritual Journey with Swamini Shraddhananda Saraswati. And I'm so happy and joyful to be here speaking with you today about these topics that I just find absolutely fascinating and that I truly believe with all my heart and soul are the answer to all of our problems. I mean, could you even imagine if we made the decision to live in a unified world? If we said, that's it, not being fearful of other people anymore. I'm going to learn as much as I can about all the different cultures and different people and different families and different ways of life. And I'm just going to celebrate all of this magnificent sacred diversity. I'm going to dance all the different dances and eat all the different foods and sing all the different songs and pray all the different prayers. Can you imagine what your life would be like? One of the things that I love about India is that somewhere I read there are approximately 795 different festivals every year, many of which are multiple days long, some of which are 9 to 20 days long. Can you imagine? Every year, 795 reasons to celebrate. There's only 365 days in a year. That's a lot of reasons to celebrate. That is a lot of celebration. That is a lot of awareness. That is a lot of unity. That is a lot of compassion, a lot of joy, So what can we do in our corner of the world to embrace that type of a perspective, that type of an outlook where we have more to celebrate and less to complain about? Complaining is going to be our downfall. The complaining that goes on in our communities is really, much of the time not necessary. I'm not talking about if someone has a need for resources, a true valid need. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the complaining, the idea that everyone else is wrong and I'm right, and no one else gets it. I'm talking about the ego kind of complaining that just is so much too busy putting other people down and nowhere near interested enough in how to build people up. So here we are with the next topic, intention. And in the Sanskrit language, the word intention is often referred to as sankalpa. And sankalpa I've also heard described as an intention to heal. So it's not just that, I'm going to have a good day today. That's a nice intention. But a sankalpa is in allowing this day to take the form that it is taking, and in choosing to see the magnificent beauty that exists everywhere, I am allowing my body, my mind, and my heart to heal. That's a much different statement. It's like an intention. Well, I'm never going to get messed over in a relationship again. I'm going to show you exactly what your place is, and I'm going to be the one in charge. Versus, I am mindfully, with great awareness, entering into this relationship. And I'm going to do my very best to hold a space where you can grow and I can grow and we can grow together. I'm going to work very hard to honor you, to respect you, to appreciate you, to be grateful for you, to be straightforward with you. And I hope you'll do the same for me. Such a different statement. And those statements set up such different relationships. So rather being in a relationship where we're constantly looking at what someone is doing wrong, what someone is doing to irritate us, what someone is doing to take our happiness away from us, we're looking and saying, I have a responsibility to cultivate my own happiness here. And I have a responsibility to allow you to do the same. And that's a completely different premise for a relationship. And it is a premise that is based in intention. It is based in sankalpa. It is based in the necessity of a greater healing. Our relationships are not meant to harm. Our relationships are meant to support healing. So whoever it is that you are relating with today, your spouse, your partner, your lover, your child, your friend, teacher, student, whoever it happens to be, ask yourself, how am I aware in this relationship and how am I unaware? What level of consciousness am I present with? How much compassion do I carry into this relationship? How much time do I spend really listening consciously versus just kind of complaining? What is my intention in this relationship? What do I want from this relationship? And then when you answer that last question, what do I want from this relationship? Avoid statements like, I want that person to make me happy, because that's just simply not possible. The number one thing that most of us want in a relationship is love. But the love has to come from inside of ourselves first. It cannot come from another person. If we don't have the strength, the ability, the courage, the bravery, the sight, the insight, the inspiration to love ourselves, then why on earth would anyone else want to bother loving us? We need to be able to stand strong into a foundation of self-love and love for all others. That is also an intention. That is an intention of healing, because to love and to be loved is every single human being and every single living being's birthright. Now, the next quality is wisdom. And the Sanskrit word for wisdom is vidya. Vidya is such a beautiful word. Wisdom. What is wisdom? Can I pick up a book, read it, and acquire wisdom? No, you cannot. What about, can I go to college and take a course and acquire wisdom? No, you cannot. You can acquire knowledge from those sources. Can you watch a movie? No, that's not the place to get wisdom. You can receive knowledge. You might receive a little bit of understanding. But the place where we get wisdom from is typically twofold. The first is that it comes as grace. There's not really another way to explain that other than to say that each one of us is born with a certain kind of knowing, that if we don't turn our back on it, it is a grace that's given to us by Source. Knowing the goodness of love, knowing the goodness of peace, knowing the goodness of unity, knowing the truth of consciousness. We're born with this wisdom, this higher knowing, this inner knowing. The other wisdom is experiential. It's experiential in that we can walk through the world and we can recognize suffering, harm, and healing and support. And through the recognition of these experiences that either we ourselves are undertaking or we are witnessing on behalf of others, we can come to a very, very deep intuitive understanding about the condition of humanity, about the condition of the soul, about the condition of suffering, and about the condition of healing. We come into a high level of wisdom about what we call the truth. Truth is not, I like the color blue and I don't like the color red. That might be a personal truth. Or I don't like spinach, I love blueberries. That's a personal truth. But the kind of truth that we're talking about in spirituality takes those little truths, puts them off to the side as being a bit irrelevant. It says, what's the higher truth? What's the highest possible truth? The highest possible truth. The Buddha gave us the Four Noble Truths. Remember, we talked about that previously. Said all humans share the same demise of suffering, every single one of us. There's a reason for that suffering. It's called grasping. And there is an antidote to grasping. It's called not grasping. And there's a path to acquire the ability or the skill of not grasping. That's a truth. A truth is that suffering comes from grasping. A truth is also that love heals. A truth is also that we are capable of love that heals. Another truth, we're capable of the opposite. Which truth do you want to live by? the highest truth that supports all, unifies all, has compassion for all, has a high level of intention and an amazing wisdom? Or do you want to succumb to harm? Wisdom. With wisdom comes purpose, and the Sanskrit word for purpose is dharma. And dharma means a few things. It means purpose. It also means ethic. It also means duty. So it's more than just an adopted purpose. Like, I think I'm going to go to law school and become a civil rights lawyer and, work on behalf of everyone's civil rights. That may very well be part of your dharma. But the greater part of your dharma, the greater part of your purpose is that you play that part in a way that is ethical, that has equanimity, that is layered with wisdom, has a high level of intention, sees itself through to the conclusion with compassion, where all actions are performed with awareness and with the ultimate goal being a greater unity. So our dharma takes us down the street or down the path of unifying these other qualities so that we come to a place of greater realization. Dharma is ethic. If you look out, and we've talked about this a few weeks ago, you look out at nature and you see the storm coming in. The storm is not personal. The storm doesn't look at you and say, you know what, I'm mad, so I'm going to make the wind blow a little heavier and I'm going to knock your house down or take your trees up by the roots. It's not personal. The storm is not targeting you. The storm just happens. But when we get angry, when we decide that we're going to start churning those winds and causing some damage, we do it on purpose. We actually target people. We target people to harm them. We target this earth to harm her. We act in ways that are greedy. We act in ways that are just so violent. Dharma would say that to behave in such a way is adharmic or not ethical. Not ethical. To place the burden of your own violent acts onto the bodies of others, into the minds of others, into the life experience of others. To be dharmic or to be full with dharma is to be a servant to all humanity. So these are some pretty lofty ideas, right? I mean, how many of us are going to be able to go out and, become servants to all of humanity? Well, you live in a neighborhood where you probably only talk to a couple of people. Can you expand your circle a little bit and include someone who you typically wouldn't talk to? Can you get to know people that you typically wouldn't approach? Can you practice random acts of kindness? Can you listen? And can you share what you find? Can you listen to what other people have found on their path? And can you be happy for their discovery? Can you start small, just in your own house, in your own neighborhood, in your own school, college, office? Can you just start taking the responsibility to making your part of the world, your corner of the world, a happier, healthier place for all who walk through it, for every single person who makes their way through? And then there might be the question, well, why on earth should I do that? No one's doing it for me. You don't know. You don't know what people are trying to do for you. And who knows, maybe if you take the responsibility to start this work in your own corner of the world, then maybe you'll inspire someone else to do the same. And maybe they'll inspire someone else to do the same. And then maybe a little bit of a window will open, and you'll actually start to recognize the things that people do to try to support you, that otherwise your eyes are closed and your heart are closed to. Purpose, dharma. The purpose that we come into this life, according to many traditions from the East, there's 4, actually, goals, I guess we could call them, of this life. And the first is dharma. The first is to recognize our dharma, to recognize our ability to be ethical, to be purposeful in our contribution to the greater wellness of others and ourselves. The second is karma, and that's action. So we're born into this life with the goal of action. We're born into this life knowing that we are going to experience a certain number of what we call samskaras, or experiences, very specific ones, like we'll be born, we'll die, we'll breathe, we'll wake up in the morning, we'll go to sleep at night, we may go to work, we may go to school, we may get married, we may have children. All these things are called samskaras because they're habitual behaviors that we commit in this life, and that also as a community are committed over and over again. There's another kind of samskara that is a harmful behavior, or a behavior that leads us to suffering. And in this instance, the samskara creates a kind of karma that is sticky. So for example, if I see you on the street and I throw a rock at you and I hit you, there's going to be a karmic energetic signature to that I am going to have to resolve at some point. And I'll have to resolve it potentially through kindness. I'll need to resolve it potentially through its opposite. If our actions are violent, then we will spiritually need to resolve those actions through their opposite. Now, this is something that's talked about differently, but definitely through many, many Eastern traditions, this concept of karmic energy. If we know that karma has to be resolved, then why do we commit violence? Why do we commit harm to one another? Why don't we just invest more in goodness, invest more in kindness, invest more in unity, awareness, compassion, intention, wisdom, and purpose? Why don't we just invest more of ourselves in developing, cultivating, manifesting the world that we really want to live in, rather than the one we have? So karma, which is going to be the topic of a future show, I'm not going to go too much further into that right now, but this idea of these different actions, some actions, are part of the goals of life. They're being born, breathing, dying is a big goal. Everybody does it, and it's something that we're all afraid of. So if we can come to a place of peaceful understanding and acceptance, maybe it will actually, knowing that death is going to happen, will actually inspire us to live better. Maybe it will actually inspire us to seek unity more consistently and more profoundly, rather than separation. So the next goal is artha, which is prosperity. So one of the prosperities of human life is to be, one of the goals of human life is to have prosperity. And we can say prosperity is wealth, it's to have a career, have enough money to take care of yourself and your family, have a car, whatever that might mean to you. But also prosperity is about a sense of inner fulfillment. It's a sense of potential within oneself that I know I'm a good person. I know I'm an intelligent person. I know that I am a kind person. I know that my potential is to be creative, and I can look at the world around me. I can look at nature. I can look at the sky, the stars at night, and I can be inspired. I can be filled with this type of potential and bring it forward in a way that means something to me, that has value to me. And this is so very important, because oftentimes when people talk about prosperity, they get kind of stuck on the dollar sign, and they don't recognize that the greater prosperity is the spiritual awakening. The greater prosperity is the realization of self. The greater prosperity is when you see a child or a person, an elder perhaps, who has been suffering, who has been crying, who has been very tender. When you see their pain alleviated and you recognize that there is a gentle smile coming across their face and a relief, that is prosperity. That the ability to hold a space where that type of healing can happen in a moment, that is true spiritual prosperity. Spiritual prosperity is also being able to study your given scripture and come to know God in the chosen way that you do, whether whatever tradition you belong to. So Christian, a Jew, Muslim, Hindu. That this spiritual prosperity is about, you've got these amazing scriptures that have every possible answer for you already. Why are you not reading them? Why are we just continually asking questions when the book is right there? All you have to do is open it and read it. I love the Bhagavad Gita, because whenever I have a dilemma that I need guidance on, all I have to do is open any page, doesn't matter which one, and there will be a gem of wisdom waiting there for me. And inevitably, almost immediately, I know what the correct resolution is. Spiritual prosperity. Another aspect of spiritual prosperity is the ability to know oneself, the ability to awaken to the true identity of one's own soul. And this is huge. This is huge, because if you're going to spend time awakening to the true identity of your own soul, then you don't have time for these other things like, winning lottery tickets and cars and all these other objects that take us away from the path of realization. If you are committing yourself to the path of self-realization, then you need to be okay with doing more with less. You need to be okay with having less material objects as distractions for the sake of spiritual prosperity. Finally, liberation. Liberation in Sanskrit is called moksha. Liberation is freedom from suffering. It's freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Liberation is freedom from fear. Freedom from harm committed by self. Liberation is return to the source. But there are people who walk through this world alive in a body who are liberated, and their liberation is appropriate relationship. Their liberation is based in appropriate relationship. So it's not that their body stops breaking down. Their body's biological. Of course, it's going to break down as they get older, or they're injured, or they get sick. But they are not hyper-focused on the idea of the illness. They address the illness as they need to, and then they invest whatever energy they have into the higher work that still remains to be done. Whether that is service to community or study, meditation, communion with God. They take appropriate relationship with everything in their life. And in that way, they no longer suffer. When they come into a deep acceptance of who they actually are, of the truth of themselves, then suffering isn't the same. It's just not the same. It doesn't have the same identification or attachment that it once had. And additionally, when we our awakening to ourself, our attachments to other people change also. And not only do we free ourselves from those attachments, but we free other people from the burden of our expectations. And then that gives them a little bit of space to continue to do their work in whatever way they're going to do it, and we can continue to do ours. So what kind of life opens us up to these qualities of unity, awareness, compassion, intention, wisdom, purpose, action, prosperity, and liberation? A good life. A life of service, a life that is a little slower paced, a life that is full of joy, community, a life that is full of song and prayer, a life that is full of dance, a life that is full of stargazing, sunrises, swimming in the river, good hugs, strong handshakes, gazing into the eyes of people and appreciating with deep, deep gratitude the life that flows through the person that you're looking at. Just give yourself permission to be more present. Give yourself permission to live a life of spirit and to live a life of unity. So it's been a really great conversation today, and I know that was a lot, as it always is, because spirituality is a very deep and complicated topic, and then it's not. All you have to do is, as Swami Shivananda said, be good and do good, love all, serve all, harm none. And then we get into the questions of, well, how do we do that? So I hope that this radio show today and every other Wednesday at 2:00 is helpful to you on that quest to find out exactly how to love all, serve all, harm none, be good and do good. This is Swamini Shraddhananda Saraswati. I hope you have the most beautiful afternoon. And just close the eyes for a second. Take a breath in and a breath out. Have a moment of gratitude. Have a moment of intention. Have a moment where you're paying attention on purpose. And have a moment where your very life, where your love is the offering for the betterment of all, including you. Namaste. So much love to you all. See you next week.